Amazing series. I am your host Amma, and I am in glorious Zimbabwe. I say that because, to be honest, I came with a misconception of Zimbabwe. I thought I was coming to a country that, was falling apart, and nothing works well, and the people are carrying huge duffel bags with money stuffed in them to buy a loaf of bread. I am humbled to say I've been proven wrong. And joining me today are a group of enterprising, dynamic Zimbabweans who are here to share with us their views of their own country, the global view of their country. Plus, they're all engaged in something that's quite fascinating. So I think you're going to enjoy this session. So James, if I could start with you, what do you think? What do you think people outside Zimbabwe think about Zimbabwe?
Well, for me, I actually had the benefit to be one of the outsiders before I came back. So what we heard when I was out there is completely different from what's here on the ground.
I think it's quite sad. It's a pity that people don't then have the opportunity to actually experience the genuine side of the country itself.
David, what would you like people to know about the true Zimbabwe?
The true Zimbabwe is basically, it's safe. It's very safe. It's an emerging market with a lot of people who have got great education, great potential, and it's an investment opportunity that I think in Southern Africa is going to be one of the opportunities people should take up right now, before it gets flooded.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. That's probably what I contribute to now.
There is a negative side and there is a positive side, but at the end of the day, it's what you choose to see and the opportunities that exist on either side. So if you choose to be positive about Zimbabwe, there are great opportunities in this country, and there are great people who can make use of those opportunities. Yeah. But if you choose to see the negative side, you can write years and years about it as well.
Yeah, I think when you're not here, when you're not anywhere, you're reliant on the media, and the media is an animal that creates a reality. So I think there's a media reality and there's a true reality of what's happening. So when I made the decision to come home, a lot of friends of mine who live overseas were really apprehensive and like, you can't go home and things aren't stable, you don't know. But it's like, okay, but home will always be home was my starting point. And so I thought, I'll come home and you can always do something, make a plan. And when I got here, it was very much different. Not perfect, but it's very different from the media perception.
A taxi driver that I came with this afternoon made a very good point. He said there's drama in every family. And I think sometimes when it comes to, and I consider Zimbabwe family because all Africans were families, but when it comes to Zimbabwe, we're very focused on highlighting that which is negative about Zimbabwe. And that which is negative is not exclusive to Zimbabwe. We see it in all different parts. So if we're continuing on what is great about Zimbabwe, James, what makes you proud to be Zimbabwean?
I can be whoever I want to be, work in any field that I want to work in, and number one, without fear, and number two, knowing that I'll be able to be as big as even Bill Gates.
From what I've seen in the limited time I've been here, Zimbabwe is at a really delicate point in that it is definitely a land of opportunity, but then there are a lot of constraints as well, which you touched upon in terms of things like cash flow. And it's a really good time for us to, as a country, particularly with sanctions and our agricultural situation not being what it used to be, which we were really reliant on. This is a really good time for entrepreneurial businesses and indigenous businesses to come up with innovative new ideas, new business streams that can then enter the economy and become a source of rejuvenation for the economy. And this is a really good time for that. And a lot of it is a combination, it has to be a combination of people coming from abroad with new ideas, but being able to acclimatize and work within cultural dynamics to bring change.
My culture shock in Zimbabwe has been, it's more westernized than I thought. And people like in the western part of Africa, we wear our Ankara cloth and our kente, we wear it to work. The market women have their head wraps. We're just vivacious with that. And I counted one person on the street yesterday who was wearing something that was moderately African. Why don't you guys, go duck it out in the traditional outfits?
Because it's your traditional outfit, it's not ours. Zimbabwe has, I think historically we were more grass skirt kind of people, and we evolved from that into clothes, and it's just been like that. It's more West African, I believe, or maybe just the rest of Africa that wear beautiful clothing that we all steal, and I've got a few in my wardrobe, but it's not inherently Zimbabwean.
Okay, so you don't have cloth?
Well, we have political cloth, so if you supported a political party or if you wanted to have an outfit made with material with the president's head on it, we have that sort of thing for state functions, but we don't have traditional cloth.
What I've noticed is Zimbabweans, or maybe South Africa, Zimbabweans, let's stick to Zimbabweans, I find you guys to be very gentle, very organized, very gentle, very soft-spoken, right? Like on a whole, right? And we, on the other hand, we are loud, like our marketplaces. I mean, it's organized chaos, but we're more, passionate or aggressive than what I've seen. But I would wonder if the same perception of order, gentleness, discipline, does it translate to the workplace? And I think you guys are all starting your businesses. So do you find that same idea in your business world? If you can let us know.
I'd probably say Zimbabweans are generally very welcoming kind of people. And I think that does translate into the workplace as well. We find that for a dispute in work to occur, it has to be really drawn out there. The employees have to really go through a lot before they actually decide by themselves to do it. You find that a Zimbabwean employee will probably find a plan B, to survive rather than get violent and the like, because we've got high tolerance.
James, what are some of the advantages that you have come across in setting up business in Zimbabwe?
I think we're probably one of the fewer countries in Africa where there's been an openness to license as many AIPs as is possible. So much so that even some of us guys in the actual industry are now thinking, are we over licensed? But actually, there is room for everybody to come up with their own product and solution to make this place really a better place, and we can then begin to reflect who we actually are in this country. We are. I would actually probably say I am quite biased, but I'll probably say we are the gem of Africa. Literally.
I think definitely my biggest fascination is the possibility for innovation, the possibility to create or establish something totally different that in some way disrupts the market. You'll find over the past 10 years there have been the usual suspects in the industry, your big companies, your big corporations, and there's been a gap where there's been need for entrepreneurs to take up the challenge to actually bring about some competition in the market. And I think that's sort of like where my fascination is, and I see that as a challenge and an opportunity to create new enterprises and corporations that may be affecting Africa in the next 20 or so years.
But so we've talked about the business and see how they're all proper. Now let's talk about the social life. What can people do? No, because we're telling people what is great about Zimbabwe. And we've talked about the perception, we've talked about business, you've told us Zimbabwe is open for business. I don't want to come to a place and work. What do you do to let loose? James!
I mean, we've got a very, vibrant nightlife here, which is also very safe. And, also on top of that, we've got, places where you can actually take your family, even at night, which I think is very great. We've got great restaurants. I mean, like places where you can, literally go and eat whatever you want. And we've got our localized scene, American, where you can, take your car, go out there, barbecue with your friends and, family, or just go to the lake, sit down, relax, chill out in a very safe environment.
One thing that I would say about Zimbabwe that I haven't seen, particularly in Ghana, is you guys have maintained the richness of your vegetation.
Oh, yes.
The trees, your parks. I wish I had that in my country. Really, I do. And it shows that, people who nurture and preserve their environment, it tells you about how they also preserve and nurture their own culture. So I've had a wonderful time. Thank you guys for joining us. And I'm sure people who are watching, you're going to have a different view. Definitely come to Zimbabwe and come and see what it's about. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.